This is like my third or fourth, maybe 10th time trying to make this video. I'm in this little studio that I rent in Brooklyn. I split it with two of my friends, AJ and Lou, both artists. I basically wanted to make a video to kind of break the fourth wall and like talk about some things that, I don't know, maybe would give some more context to my music and to my art, and hopefully let people in more. My friends will joke that I'm a mysterious person, which I promise is not super intentional. I think I just been a private person for most of my life. I never really been someone that like is looking to get attention. You know, any attention that I've ever gotten has come more natural. And if I draw attention at all, if anything, I maybe have tried to like do the opposite and try to like draw attention away from myself at times in my life. You know, my parents also just raised me to be well-rounded, so I was playing piano from an early age, and I was really competitive in sports, and I think naturally some of the gifts that I had forced me to stand out a little bit. I took school very seriously. My mom did not play at all about education, and I was performing really high in my classes. And so on top of all of that, just being like Black in a predominantly white environment, naturally I stuck out. I was pretty shy growing up. I never really wanted to demand attention to myself. I think the times where I did, it wasn't really good attention. It didn't feel like good attention. Like I think I associated like drawing attention to myself with being in trouble. Like if I was to crack a joke or blurt something out in class, or drawing attention to myself was for something negative outside of, again, like just the natural attention that I got from my talents, or the natural attention I got from just sticking out because of how I look. I mean, my family's kind of the same way. Both of my parents, they're not entertainers. They wouldn't call themselves artists, even though I think they both have, you know, special gifts, and they enjoy a private life as well. My dad is like pretty skeptical, I'll say, when it comes to like allowing people to have too much access into like his life and his family's life. So I think I've kind of inherited some of that, and I think I often felt like I was in spaces where people only knew a little bit of me, or I was really good at like gatekeeping how much I wanted them to have, you know, access to me. And I was able to kind of connect with people without them really like knowing me fully, because I felt like whatever little bit I would give would be enough. It would be deep enough for them to be satisfied with it. Even as I was younger in school, like playing piano and then also being like an athlete, and also being you know, like a serious student, it was like I would be in different spaces that didn't necessarily mesh well together. It's just something I feel like I've become more and more aware of, and as I've poured more into like my love for music, I just feel like there's only so much you can accomplish creatively without letting people into your world and letting people experience you. And I think no one is going to like jump through hoops to try to get to know you if you're not just putting it all out there. And I think, I mean, that's kind of what made me want to be an artist in the first place, was like wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard, and feeling like outgrowing environments that I was in and feeling held back by them. I definitely saw making music as a way to kind of transcend whatever situation I was in, and a way for me to like realize like the fullest version of me. Pacing helps me to think, but as I've gotten older, I feel like I've run into the same sort of hurdle over and over again. I want to get more specifically into like talking about my music and my career as an artist, but I feel like it's important for me to share like some of the backstory of like how I even got to where I'm at right now and why I'm even like starting to make these videos, because it is all connected in some way, and it feels ridiculous. This feels uncomfortable. It's something that I've kind of resisted for a long time, but it also feels essential. It feels like unavoidable. Most of what people know me for is a song that gotten a lot of attention called Summer Girl, that at the time, it was just a song that me and Q just made in like the spur of a moment and put out like the next day. And over time, it's just like has attracted a lot of people, and which it's been really cool to see how an idea in the spur of a moment can like just draw the attention, you know, without any like push or marketing or any of that. I guess it just resonates, and that is really cool to see. And I guess that was so early on in me discovering who I wanted to be as an artist and musician. And at the time, I was only producing. I was only like trying to like make beats for other people and maybe put out songs that like I would want, you know, friends to feature on. I hadn't yet found my voice. I hadn't yet like found the courage to use my gift of word. And so later on down the line, I don't necessarily know how to receive whatever comes from that song, you know? It doesn't necessarily feel like a representation of my expression, despite me like being involved in making the song, you know? I'll segue to like talking about Look Closely, which some of you might know me for that project that I put out in 2021 in October, almost 4 years ago now. That was my first time stepping into like the role of an artist, and you know, it was a fully like self-produced project, and I still kind of like padded it with some features from friends just because like I think it was just me still transitioning. You know, I mean, at that point I had like a little label deal, and I was being managed, and I had like a PR agent that I was working with. I think that I felt like I was really on the brink of something, and was feeling really validated in like what I was striving to become. And you know, it was still new for me to use my voice. I didn't grow up singing. I didn't grow up really expressing myself at all. I didn't really feel like I had something to say or something of value to like share outside of just like sounds. And even then I was still kind of still gaining my confidence that, you know, the musical ideas I had were worth sharing. And I was on this project, I'm like rapping and singing a little bit and like, you know, trying to showcase these like intricate beats and beat changes, and you know, playing guitar on these tracks, trying to almost like make up for lost time and put everything that I like and everything that made me into a record, thinking that if I put everything there, like there's no way it's not going to change my life, which it did. In a lot of ways it did, but yeah, it was just, you know, you don't really know when you make something, put it out, you don't really know what's on the other side of that. And I still had a lot to learn about myself, about music, about being an artist, performing. I think there's just so much that comes with being an artist that I didn't even really know and didn't really feel prepared for at the time. Even like dealing with having thoughts and like just the vulnerability of things that I like put into the music. It's like when I'm making it, I feel so courageous and so excited to like get my thoughts off, and then after putting it out, I'm like, oh shit, people have access to this. That's embarrassing. And you know, I think there was a lot of self-judgment after I put that project out that, you know, it was made worse by like things that I was going through at the time. I had just moved to New York from Florida, where, you know, I've lived in Florida my whole life. And, you know, I fell out with the person who was managing me at the time, who was also like, I considered to be a good friend. And, you know, it was just some misunderstanding and like disagreement with like the direction of my career and a mishandling of like communication that, you know, I had to learn from as well. And I think just a lot of things that like I had once found a sense of security and like validation in, felt like they were slowly being stripped away as soon as I dropped my project, you know. Soon after, me and like the person I was dating at the time started not being on the same page anymore, and to a certain extent, I felt like I was even blaming what was happening in my career for that. And the label that I was with, I felt like we just couldn't get on the same page about what I wanted, who I wanted to be as an artist, and I felt things shift with them, you know, being so excited about what I was making. And then after putting it out and like not necessarily like, you know, having maybe like a short-lived reception to it, there was like a drastic shift of what they wanted for me versus what I expressed wanting for myself from the time I signed the deal. And at this point, I don't take it personally. I know it's a part of business, and it just comes with being an artist. You have to fight for yourself. But at the time, I took it really hard because I felt convinced that they were willing to fight for me and fight for what I want. And, you know, on top of all of that, just like adjusting to being in a new city, and my camera died. But yeah, I think I was just saying, on top of that, just being in a new city, you know, adjusting to like making new friends and finding community, and, you know, experiencing like a real winter for the first time. That year was just, it was so much adjusting, so many like new emotions, and, you know, slowly like going through a breakup. And I felt like there was so much like retreating into myself. I associated so much of what I was going through with releasing the project. Like, to be honest, I almost was blaming everything that I was feeling on Look Closely. I didn't even want to like listen to it anymore. I didn't want to perform it anymore because it all was just reminding me of heavy things that I was feeling, you know, because in that project, I didn't realize it when I was making the songs, but in the project, I was kind of opening up about certain anxieties and like whatever depression and fears that I was struggling with while making it. And I didn't even, it's weird, like I didn't really see that. I was like talking about it, but wasn't even fully aware that that's what I was saying until after I released it. And then I almost felt like I was experiencing it deeper after putting it out. So I was kind of blaming myself for like manifesting it. Like I felt like I manifested a lot of the negative things that I was experiencing after the project. That summer, or just really that year as a whole, you know, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next musically. And I put a lot of energy into trying to just be a better artist, better musician. I mean, I was like rapping more, like really rapping more. You know, 'cause part of the conversation, like after Look Closely, I had with my label, they pretty candidly told me that I'm not a great rapper and I'm not a great singer, and but I'm a great producer, and that I should essentially like go back to producing for other people and go back to like doing what I did on Summer Girl and Dominicana, which again really kind of like shook me after being so intentional about trying to like transcend that, you know. And at this point, you know, these were the only people that were like on my team, because didn't really have anyone else like vouching for me. So I did take it personal and I put so much effort into trying to become better at all of those things, and started taking vocal lessons and started really just like exercising my like rapping and like writing, and even trying to make like catchier songs, and trying to make more positive songs, because I felt like Look Closely was so dense and heady, which I also blamed for it not. I mean, realistically, like expecting your first project to like blow up is not realistic at all. So I put all my effort into like trying to become better at everything, and trying to figure out how to break through social media, which I still haven't figured out. And you know, while I'm doing all this, I think I was just being so hard on myself, and like didn't want to like showcase anything. I didn't really know what to like give to the world outside of like, you know, a couple spur of the moment like song drops, you know. And I'm just like, while all of this is happening, I'm literally like watching my monthly like listeners just slowly go from 500K to like where it's at now. It's like 60K or something like that, and just feeling like everything is failing, like everything that I'm trying to do is failing, but at the same time I'm pushing myself to improve. I mean, I even started going to therapy, and I'm making these songs that are a reflection of like what I was feeling at the time, which it was a lot of loneliness, a lot of darkness, a lot of like just sad, and but while genuinely like not being inspired by that. Not only not being inspired by that, but like not wanting to put that type of energy into the world anymore. Again, like being fearful that like if I put out more music about my darker emotions, like I'm going to attract more darkness into my life, you know? Like I truly believed that. And I was trying everything I could to like spin whatever narrative I had of my situation in my head to make it more positive, you know, even if it wasn't true, even if it wasn't what I was truly experiencing. And I just remember like if I was gonna have a day of recording, like starting the day saying like, okay, my goal today is to make a positive, happy song. And going in with all the intention to do that. And then when I listen back at the end of the day, it still is something that has pain in it, you know? And that was frustrating for me. I remember even like, you know, taking a trip to LA and trying to reach out to like whatever like music industry contacts I still kept in touch with, just trying to find some support. And like, I just felt like my energy was just like repelling people. Like I can feel it and fully fully aware of it, you know? Felt like I just didn't know how to change that. And I was even trying not to talk about what I was feeling, trying not to talk about what I was feeling, trying not to talk about any hurt, whatever like abandonment I felt after releasing my project. I tried not to talk about any of that. But it was like, it almost felt like people could smell it on me, you know? And I felt like the things that I was trying to accomplish and whatever support I was trying to get, it was like they could just smell it, and like just like They might pretend to be like, yeah, like, let me know if you need any help. But like, I could tell I just didn't have that pull on people. And it was a hard thing to like take responsibility for, But I did know that ultimately I can't sit here and blame the world for like whatever lack of momentum that I'm feeling, and I have to just try to work through and like try to find it on my own. And it took time, and something that I think really you feel inside before you see it, And I think I got to a place where I was starting to feel it inside, and despite not seeing it, I was able to celebrate the fact that I feel it within me, and trust that the rest will come. In hindsight, I'm happy that I experienced all of that. Someone gave me the phrase false start. Basically, I had a false start where I thought everything was happening for me and I thought I had it all, and I had to go through like a heartbreak to realize that like, that wasn't what was for me, and just believe that there's something even greater for me, And I think it really pushed me to dive deeper into myself and figure out who I want to be and figure out what I want to say and grow more just like self-assured and not relying on anyone else's input or validation for what I want to make, what I want to express. And all of that had to happen for me to even get to this point of like what I will be putting out this year, not hiding as much, because I don't have nothing to hide. That's kind of the energy that went into the song, I Think I'm Being Myself. I think it kind of felt like the first song that I was able to kind of pull back the curtains a little bit more. And through all this time, one thing I learned about music is like the feeling of hope and like positivity that I was searching for and trying to create doesn't necessarily always have to be me talking about something that I'm happy about. Like, you can make positive songs and you can create the feeling of hope without talking about celebration or joy or bragging about stuff. You can be vulnerable about heavier emotions and still create the feeling of hope in your musical choices, in the way your delivery, in the takeaway from an experience. Because I think true like acceptance is accepting the good and the bad, and being able to like appreciate all of it, So I'm gonna end here for today. Whoever finds significance in this or was able to listen to this and listen to me, very appreciative. I think my biggest thing is just like wanting to be heard, and it's so uncomfortable to admit that, It's so much easier to just be the cool guy and act like I don't care who listens and who doesn't. But the truth is, like, I do care, and I do want my voice to be heard, and I hate feeling ignored, and I hate feeling overlooked. So I'm hoping that at the very least this can help me to find my people and my audience. Whoever resonates with whatever I have to say, I'm excited to meet y'all.